At CNN, Marco Rubio says gun restrictions would not have prevented the mass shooting at a high school in his home state of Florida. At Real Daily Wire, Obama calls for gun control in wake of Florida shooting. Former President Barack Obama has already called for gun control in the wake of the Wednesday South Florida school shooting that claimed a gun. President Trump relishes his reputation as a savvy deal maker. Deals are my art form, he once tweeted. Other people paint beautifully or write poe. At Proud Sister. We need to ban assault weapons. 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 At Cernovich. You need a lot of help, and I want those people to get help. Rather than focus on hating on the Jews or whatever, I would focus on what went wrong with your life. Author and top pro-Trump social media organizer Mike Cernovich talks about what he got right and wrong about the alt-right, in light of the events of the last weekend. At Princess Bravato. Don't you like the image? This is the reality. Gun reform no gaponad beathner now is now gun reform no.
The Senate, what must it have to get through the House of Representatives?
Well, the Speaker of the House needs to do what he said he would do, and that is to whip the Good Labrador bill, put it on the floor, make sure that it passes out of the House. We are the most conservative body, and we've got a bill ready to go. And Chairman
in other words, the Speaker should not wait for the Senate. Do that now.
Absolutely not. If we're going to wait for the Senate, why don't we all go home, take naps, and wait for 60 senators to decide what we're going to do as a nation? I didn't sign up for that. Most people that elected me didn't want me to sign up for that. So it's critical that we go ahead and work, and that's where you're going to see the Freedom Caucus engaging over the next couple of weeks. We're going to engage and hold our Speaker to his word, which said that he was going to whip the Good Lat bill and make sure that it has the threshold and then send it to the Senate.
At Adel National. Breaking Nicholas Cruz, alleged perpetrator in the deadly school shooting in Parkland, Florida, was associated with white supremacist group Republic of Florida and participated in the Group's training exercises, according to the Group's leader. More info. A spokesperson for the white supremacist group Republic of Florida (ROF) told the Anti-Defamation League that Nicholas Cruz was associated with his group. At Tedlu, at SpeakAyan, at Chat Program Raya, dear at SpeakAyan. It has been nearly 1,900 days since 20 children and 7 adults were slaughtered using an assault rifle in Newtown. Is it time to jump to conclusions yet? How many moments of silence do you need on the House floor before you come to some conclusions? Gun reform no. At Rumbo Biggs. Imagine if we protected our schools like we protect our banks and money. at CJPTRUNO, at GOPTHA, at SpeakAintha, at SENATMJLD, at Real Donald Trump Love Ice Loud. Love Ice louder than money, than power, than discourse, than laws, than the at GOP, then at SpeakAim, then at Senate Major, then at Real Donald Trump Love Ice louder than hate, love is louder than Trump.
Joining us now, Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado. The senator recently served as the superintendent of Denver Public Schools. And Senator, you've been already outspoken, tweeting it's time for action. Mass shootings have become a normal part of American life. What action at this point would make a difference, and what action could be a reality out of Washington?
Well, I think that it's important for us to close the loopholes that exist in the federal background checks. That's what we've done in Colorado. You asked, why aren't things possible in Washington? It is a mystery. I come from a Western state. We have had horrible mass shootings, terrible tragedies in our state. We closed the gun show loophole. We closed the internet loophole. We passed a law in our legislature that limited the size of magazines, and we should do the same thing in Washington.
Have you seen any impact from those changes in your state, or does it not make a difference if you can't do something across the board?
I think yes, we've seen an impact in my state, so it's a great question. We had about 380,000 people apply for gun permits last year. About 8,000 of those were denied gun permits. That's about 2%. And among those people that were denied guns were murderers, rapists, domestic abusers. And I challenge anybody in the United States Senate to come down here and make the case that Colorado's not safer for having kept guns out of the hands of murderers, rapists, and domestic abusers. So it has made a difference, and we could do it at a national level.
Mike Barnacle.
Senator, you're a thoughtful guy. You have a sense of what happens in schools after school shootings. You have a sense of what happens to a community after mass slaughters in a movie theater, or especially at Columbine High School more than a decade ago. And now everybody seems to
Germany considering free public transportation to take on air pollution. News DW 13.2.2018.
By tomorrow, but people wonder, why so many
Cyril Ramaphosa warning as president of South Africa. News DW 15.2.2018.
Does it have something to do with the lack of respect for life around us, or frustration, or mental health? All of those issues wrapped into one. What do you think?
I think it's all those things, Mike. We have also had a spate of shootings of law enforcement officers in the state of Colorado in the last month. That's unlike anything that we've ever seen. And I think the thing that we can't allow ourselves to do is something you said, which is just move on to the next thing. I was struck after a gunman in Las Vegas took the lives of 59 Americans. And I came to work the following Monday or Tuesday in Washington, and I had a series of meetings. Nobody raised the fact that we had just lost 59 Americans. And what I can tell you, having been a school superintendent and being the parent of 3 school-age children in the Denver public schools.
Trump administration criticizes Senate immigration plan.
They carry this with them day after day after day through their middle
Macron
school
prays
years,
as French
through
economy
their
powers
high
ahead.
school
France
years.
24.
This is a burden that our children are having to carry that we didn't have to carry, and it is deeply unfair. It's not just the loss of life, which is horrible and horrific, but it's the effect that it has on our culture and on the lives of our children. And we ought to do something about that. We ought to do something with the kind of restrictions I described earlier. We ought to do something to support mental health in this country, which we haven't done for a generation now. I don't know who we're waiting for. Nobody else is going to come here and do this work. We need to do this work.
You're working on a bill, I believe, with is it Cory Gardner? Just for DACA, on immigration.
Yeah.
What's the status of that? Are we going to have movement in any way, shape, or form on immigration?
Well, I hope so. So Colorado is a third Democratic, a third Independent, and a third Republican. And Cory Gardner is a Republican, and I came together on a bill that provides a pathway to citizenship for the Dreamers. And
French trade in Mali leaves at from India and Giants South Africa with the rise and fall of Egypt's France 24.
In terms of a wall. Now we're going to vote on 4 bills today. Parts of our bill have been taken up by another bipartisan bill, and I hope we'll get 60 votes to resolve the situation for the Dreamers. This is another case, like we were talking about earlier, another case where the vast majority of Americans support resolving the uncertainty for the Dreamers. The question is whether Congress is listening to the American
Market
people.
correction, just do what Warren Buffett does,
Senator
says
Michael
one
Bennet
investor.
of Colorado, thank you very much for being on this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
Up next, after yesterday's mass shooting, the second in his state in less than 2 years, Senator Marco Rubio says it's too soon to talk
Economists
about gun
cite Trump's spending spree as foolhardy and unsound.
Florida's senior senator Bill Nelson says enough is enough, and he will join us next.
Thanks for checking.
Hold up. I'm going in. Found the juicy. Now this is just outlandish. The government's ongoing offensive on Idlib province has already displaced thousands of civilians, many of whom previously fled violence in other areas, writes Cole Bockenfeld of the International Rescue Committee. Israeli archaeologists in Earth Roman Air Mosaic Bar News Bar DW Bar 082.2018. People are wild. The 1,800-year-old mosaic depicts 3 prosperous-looking males wearing togas. The colorful high-quality mosaic is the first of its kind to be found in Israel. Archaeologists in Israel have discovered a Roman air mosaic in the historic coastal city of Caesarea, the country's antiquities body site on Thursday. The mosaic, dating back to the 2nd or 3rd century AD, was discovered during the excavation of a building from the Byzantine period some 300 years younger than the mosaic it was hiding. The surprise was actually that we found 2 beautiful monuments from the glorious days of Caesarea, Peter Gendelman, co-director of excavation for the Israel Antiquities Authority, said referring to the building and mosaic. The excavated portion of the mosaic, which measures about 3.5 meters by 8 meters 11 feet by 26 feet in size, depicts three prosperous-looking males wearing togas, one facing the viewer and the other two in profile. It also bears geometric patterns and an inscription in Greek, which is damaged. Trump News. President speaks about Florida school shooting. Just take a minute and look at this. A stoic President Donald Trump pledged Thursday to address mental health and school safety following the latest shooting massacre at an American school. However, in a speech to reassure the nation, the president made no specific reference to guns or gun laws after the shooting in Parkland, Florida. "We are committed to working with state and local leaders to secure our schools and tackle the difficult issue of mental health," the president said. A day earlier, a troubled former student opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, killing 17 people and wounding 14, according to authorities. The 19-year-old suspect, Nicholas Cruz, was charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder. Trump pledged federal help to the Florida community reeling from the slayings, and said he would travel to Parkland to coordinate a federal response and meet with families. He urged Americans to answer hate with love, and cruelty with kindness. Market correction. Just do what Warren Buffett does, says one investor. Whoa. Now that's spicy. Worried money managers who are fretting about the recent market correction and the future of their portfolios just need to follow the advice of legendary investor Warren Buffett, according to one investment manager. What do you do if the market drops from here? Warren Buffett famously says, "If I see a sale in my favorite store, I go and buy some more of the stuff I like." Staker Nasaiba, CEO of Hermes Investment Management, told CNBC Thursday. Markets in the U.S. had dropped 10% at one point last week, pushing into correction territory following a data release in the U.S. that sparked fears over a stronger than expected uptick in inflation. Market corrections are often seen as a buying opportunity for many investors as they quickly reduce the value of equities. Nasaiba's comments highlight Buffett's famous line from 2008 when he said, "Whether we're talking about stocks or stocks, I like buying quality merchandise when it is marked down." According to Nasaiba, now that markets have slightly come off their recent highs, and given that economic growth is strong and there are good prospects for solid earnings, it's the moment to seize the opportunities in the stock market. So if you have a long-term view that markets are frothy, they have taken some of the froth out, and if you are really investing for a 10-year horizon, yeah, you buy the stocks that are solid, that you think you like the underlying earnings, and you go into them and you wait until they come down, he said. Study. Ultra-processed hash foods like chicken nuggets linked to cancer. I can't believe what's going on. Consuming more highly processed foods proportionately increases the risk of cancer, a study has suggested. A team of researchers, led by a team based at Université Sorbonne in Paris, France, examined the medical records and eating habits of over 100,000 adults and registered their typical intake of 3,300 different food items. The kinds of ultra-processed foods associated with the increased risk of a disease included cakes, chicken nuggets, mass-produced bread, fizzy drinks, confectionery, and processed meat. Generally, these foods contain long lists of additives, flavorings, and preservatives, as well as high levels of sugar, fat, and salt. The results, published Wednesday in the British Medical Journal, show that a 10% increase in the amount of ultra-processed foods in a person's diet was linked to a 12% increase in cancers of some kind. The study has prompted health experts to urge caution at its findings, while also stressing a healthy and balanced diet is best. Check this out. With limited access to food, medicine and fuel, the hundreds of thousands of people trapped in the eastern suburbs of Damascus have developed a wide range of strategies to get through the government's tightening siege.